Andrea Nisler did the third open workout only 4 days after giving birth. She then went on to do all of the quarterfinal workouts and qualify for semi-finals. The Morning Chalk Up did a post about this, celebrating her return to the sport, and there has been a lot of controversy. Firstly, and this should go without saying, but within the CrossFit space at the moment, there is a lot of hate and a lot of trolling. Don't send hate her way. Don't leave her mean comments. She does not deserve that. So she said in the Morning Chalk Up article, I did the third open workout 4 days after giving birth. I didn't go hard. I've been doing chest to bar throughout my entire pregnancy, so it felt really good. She then added that she got through the open and ramped up the intensity after seeking medical approval and seeing a pelvic floor specialist. She notes that her pregnancy and birth was smooth and not complicated, whereas some women have it much harder and need a longer recovery. One of the reasons I want to talk about this is I am currently 9 months pregnant and I'll be going through this journey myself very soon. In the UK, you have a pelvic floor checkup at around 6 weeks and then you get the clearance in order to go back into exercise. But often these checkups don't involve any actual checking. Some do, some don't. It's a mixed bag. I believe she's in the US where you pay for healthcare, so hopefully you get a slightly better service, but we really don't know what seeing that pelvic floor specialist entailed. Personally, as I'm currently 9 months pregnant, I want to know how she did the first and second workout 9 months pregnant. Like, how did you do the burpees in workout 1? Maybe she had a smaller bump, I'm not sure. I had to cut out burpees within my first trimester because they just felt awful and I was feeling some like abdominal pulling and it just didn't feel like worth the risk, so I started scaling them. That workout looked hard and I could not imagine doing it right now. So in the UK, the advice is that you don't return to exercise before 6 weeks, but there's also this line that says as soon as you feel up to it, and I think that underestimates athletes that may feel up to it way sooner. Like, I'm sure I could convince myself I was up to it straight after birth. That's a very typical thing of me to do. And then it says it's a good idea to wait after your 6-week postnatal check before you start to return to any high impact exercise such as aerobics or running. They clearly have a different opinion of what high impact exercise is to us. Like, CrossFit is definitely high impact and way higher impact than aerobics. However, Andrea did say in a video on Brian Friend's podcast that her doctors and specialists do know what CrossFit is, so at least they have an understanding of the sport. At the end of the day, I believe that it's her body and her rules and she's allowed to do whatever she wants with it. We don't know the assessments made, we don't really know how her birth went other than that it was smooth and uncomplicated, and we don't have a right to know those things. She might be highly informed or really uninformed, and the professionals that she's surrounding herself with might have knowledge that conflicts with the general advice. We literally don't know. There also could be other things in play. She mentioned she's struggled with depression and anxiety. Coming to the gym and working out is my happy place. I have a history of depression and anxiety, so knowing that, as well as knowing where I find happiness, I've just really dove back into working out because it's been great and it's helped me so much through the last month and a half. Obviously, there's a high risk of postpartum depression within mothers generally, but there's an even higher risk with people that have had a mental health issue previously, and that's something that I've had to find out. I'm currently battling the fact that I should take 6 weeks off postpartum, but as somebody with bipolar disorder and PTSD, bipolar disorder being a very severe mental illness, taking 6 weeks off exercise can have a really significant impact on my mental health. And I'm also a risk for postpartum psychosis, as well as postpartum depression. The risk of my mental health relapsing is literally death. So I'm gonna have to assess the situation and decide whether risking my pelvic floor health, my abdominal health, is worth getting back into exercise a little bit earlier than I should. I have to weigh up the options because obviously death is way more harmful than maybe not having the best recovery. But saying that, I will be doing the absolute bare minimum that I can get away with to support my mental health in those first 6 weeks, and that will probably just be walking. My only goal is to try and maintain mental stability, so I won't be doing anything excessive that could cause my body harm when my only goal is mental stability. So there are loads of risks to your body by going back to exercise this early, and for most women this should be completely avoided. Brianna put it really well here. She is a professional in the space and she has trained many athletes, both professional and everyday athletes, after giving birth.
What I do know after working with thousands of pregnant and postpartum athletes, including many professional athletes, this is not a timeline I would ever recommend to any athlete under any circumstance for a variety of reasons. Birth and pregnancy, postpartum recovery, this is all a significant physiological process. Nevertheless, the mental and emotional aspect of adjusting to motherhood and all of the different variables that are introduced there.
I also loved Kara's comment on the post. Obviously, like, Kara Saunders is amazing to me, and her postpartum recovery and her birth and her pregnancy were the most inspiring to me because I feel like she looked after her body. She did exercise, but she scaled it back and she wasn't afraid to do that. And I just really appreciate her as an athlete generally. As a woman who has competed in the highest level of the sport, trained through pregnancy and returned to competition after 2 babies, I do not recommend this timeline. Every woman's body is her own and she can do what she likes with it. However, if you're a mum or soon to be mum, please don't see this and compare or use this as an example. Some research will show you how much your body endures during pregnancy, labour and postpartum, and you deserve to heal. It's okay to heal. The healing timeline mentally and physically looks different for everybody, but it still needs to exist. I'm not here to debate or get into a fight with anyone. I stand by my experiences, my research, my opinion, and I comment this to support women who might see this and need to know it's okay not to do this. And this is really important. We can often see athletes and assume that that must be safe for all of us to do, but that isn't true. Similarly with Tia, we've seen her compete at the Rogue Invitational 5 months postpartum, but I've asked some professionals that I've been working with during my pregnancy, when am I okay to compete in high rocks postpartum? And I said, what about 5 months? And they said basically no. The best time for me to go back will be about 9 months postpartum rather than 5 months. 5 months could be really early, and we also don't know how my pregnancy is going to go. Even if it went really well though, 5 months, the general consensus is too soon. But those are just from the professionals that I've been speaking to, and other ones might have different opinions. There is no one size fits all answer, but the examples we see out there can definitely influence how we train. Alyssa commented, "We're doing this again. Birth is injury. Would we be celebrating an athlete having surgery on his shoulder doing overhead squats 3 days later? Why are we celebrating this?" Which is a good point, because birth is injury. It can cause so much damage to your abdominal muscles. They have to literally shrink back into place. So anything using core movements, especially in the really early days, can have a significant impact on that. There are some things that I will have been doing during pregnancy that I won't be able to do immediately postpartum. That's because your abdominal muscles literally have to go back together. They're healing in that time, and birth can cause damage to lots of different parts of your body. Steph commented, "Wait until you find out how short maternity leave is in America. We can attack an athlete for going back to her sport, but no one raises an eyebrow about how soon mothers need to go back to work." And this is a really good point. So in the UK, we have 9 months maternity leave, and it's paid that whole time. But in the US, I'm pretty sure it's a lot shorter. When I looked it up, it says it's about 12 weeks. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but that is unbelievable. And then if you also factor in the fact that this is her income, this is her job and her livelihood, it is like her going back to work. And yes, CrossFit is definitely way more intense than going back to a desk job, but there are loads of jobs out there 12 weeks postpartum that could be quite hard on your body. I completely disagree with the US maternity system generally. Like, I can't believe they would send mothers back that early. That's crazy. I don't know how any of you do it, and I hope the system changes. Now, I think a lot of these comments are looking to Andrea to be an example, and this is the problem. It is not her responsibility to be an example. She's just an athlete. She's a human being doing her sport, having a baby and going back to her sport, just doing what she feels is good for her and what's best for her body. She's not saying this is what everybody should do. She hasn't even posted that publicly about it. She's only done a couple of interviews, and from what I can gather, that was based off the backlash from the first post. She's not outwardly promoting it, telling people that they should harm their body in any way. And in all of the interviews, she's put in loads of caveats to say every woman is different, people's bodies are different, you might have a longer recovery, this is not necessarily what you should do. But I think the problem with this is the celebration of this. The Morning Chalk Up article celebrating her return so quickly can send the message that this is a good thing. And I personally think that CrossFit media outlets have a responsibility not to celebrate something that comes with such a high risk. This could easily be mitigated by putting a disclaimer underneath. But equally, the people at the Morning Chalk Up might not be educated in this area, and I think they were definitely trying to do a good thing with really good intentions. And I love the Morning Chalk Up generally as a news outlet. It's one of my favourites to follow. It's one that I actually do use to keep up with CrossFit information. I think they meant well, and I think their intention was to celebrate women's achievements, especially post-birth. And we definitely need more celebration of women's accomplishments within the space. But we definitely need more conversations around this, because because I have seen so many women go back to CrossFit really early after giving birth. Clearly, most people don't really know what the general advice is, and because a lot of doctors already shun CrossFit, I think the assumption is that they're going to shun anything that we do. They'll probably tell us not to do CrossFit even if you've not just given birth. So I think a lot of people are inclined to ignore medical professionals as well. The conversation is way more nuanced than we'd like it to be, I think, but we have to stop believing that athletes exist to be our examples, and that if one of them is doing something then it must be safe for us. And that goes for all sports, and it also goes for my content. There's loads of stuff that I've posted on Instagram that might not be safe for a lot of pregnant people, and then other pregnant people might be able to do way more than I've been able to. We all have specific risks and complications that come with our body and our pregnancy and everything that's going on with us. We can't look at another athlete and assume that that must be safe. Athletes generally might do stuff that comes with a large amount of risk, or stuff that's simply not effective. The ice bath thing is a really common one. Athletes for years and years have been plunging themselves into ice baths post-training, but it's recently been shown that it's not effective for recovery and muscle growth if you do it too soon after exercise. We can't take everything they say and do as something that we should do just because they're accomplished in their sport. The bottom line is, let's not attack individual athletes for doing what they want to do with their body. Leave her alone, don't leave her hate. Just seek help from professionals in the field and try and get as much information as you can. If you're interested in how I've been training during my second trimester and what I cut out, then watch this video next. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.